Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. Today, I'm going to get back on the insulation in the new wood shop. First thing I got to do though is box this Helix cutter head back up, get this out of here, because I picked up some new insulation the other day, and let me show you where that's going to go. This was kind of a spur of the moment thing, but I'm going to insulate behind all of the columns, just the separate spaces here, 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 etc. And the reason for that is that the fiberglass insulation that's going to be in here is R19. The area where the columns are, this area right here, is only R5.5. The 1.5 inch back here, if I put rigid insulation in there, that'll bring the insulation value of these areas up to R13. And later on, if I put that 1.5 inch foam on the front of the columns as well, right before I put the wall on, the columns will have the same insulation as the walls, which is pretty important. I tallied up the widths of all these columns, and all of the columns in the wood shop together is over 6 feet wide. So if I don't insulate that, I'll have a 6 foot wide by 12 foot tall area that is only R5, and that'll make it pretty cold in here. So what I'm going to do, I have to cut these kind of like the last ones. I'm going to cut them in half, but then I'm going to cut each half into 3 8-inch pieces and then cut them to fit behind that stuff. I don't think I'm going to show all that. I might show a little bit. Then we'll get back and we'll start cutting the fiberglass insulation and attaching that to the pokey stabby strips. So let me get this stuff cleared out, get that cut, and I'll get back with you when we're going to do something over there. All right, I have my 1.5 inch insulation cut to 8 inches, and I have it behind the columns on both sides here. Now I'm going to cut the first sheet of fiberglass insulation, and I think I'm just going to bend out the pokey stabby things on just this first one and then give it a shot. That's about what you need to do right there. I think these actually go down further, but I don't know if it needs it or not. I think it'll be kind of hard to do that without yanking it with pliers or something. Let me grab a pliers and try yanking one of these things. Okay, this, right where it bent, that's where the perforation stops. So in order to get more of this spike out, you would need to rip the metal down there, and I don't think we need to do that. Let's see how much we got here. We got almost 3.5. That'll bring us about 2 inches from the face of the insulation. Let me try one more of these, but I don't think it's really worth it. I think it's going to damage the pokey stabby strip if I try to rip that down. Okay, I yanked like crazy on this one with the vice grips, and all it does is start to deform the metal here, and it's going to damage it pretty bad if I keep going. So I'll just take the vice grips and go through here and bend these out right where they want to bend, and then we'll cut a piece of insulation and see how it is installing this stuff. Okay, here is my method so far with one piece installed. All I'm doing is rolling this out. I can get about 3 of them per roll. Roll it out, let it fluff up a bit. I'll cut it exactly to length. The first one I cut 2 inches long, and I had to cut that back off. So I'm just going to cut it exactly to length, and if I'm a hair shy at the bottom, I could stuff some loose stuff into there and fill the gap. Once it's cut and everything, fluff it up a bit, And then I just grabbed it by the end and kind of dragged it on the paper sides down. I had the ladder in place over here, and I dragged it up the ladder and poked it on that top one, and I could take my hands off. The top one held it. So I pushed it, made sure it was nice and snug up against the post there, put some staples in. I stapled it as I worked my way down. I made these hash marks right at 23 inches, so you could tell that it's exactly in the right spot. There's the one on that one. So I worked my way down, stapling on that side and then pushing it up against the spikes, and it's holding it up beautifully. Once I got everything in place, I cut that piece off, like I said. I just went back and taped this edge and burnished it nice and tight. And there you have it. I'm not exactly sure how these tabs are going to work together, like this one with the next one. Yeah, maybe if I just roll it like that and then unfold the other tab the entire way, I'll have to see how that works. But once I have that one cut and bring it out here, I could stab it onto the top, and I'll have plenty of time to play around with it and figure out what the best way is. I need to tape these seams, so I need to get a good overlap of this paper so I can tape it correctly. So far, so good. I think what I'll do is go to this side next and then fill in the center later. If that's not the best way to do it, I'll find out and I'll do it different on this one. But I think that's going to be best because these are really held in place well because they're stapled and they have the pokey stabby strips on them. So that should be able to give a little more support to these middle ones, which are going to be held up just by the pokey stabby strips. Okay, I'm going to head to lunch and warm my feet up a little bit. It's pretty darn cold out here. And when I get back, I'll get this one in. I'll get this whole bay done today and start prepping to get this one done tomorrow. Once I get these two done, I'm going to switch over to the other side and get those two done. Then I'll deal with the window openings. All right, I'm all warmed up and I'm turning the spikes out to 90 degrees. And I'm also adding, I'm not sure if you'll see that. Sure you will. I'm adding screws here and there. It's not really to hold this up, but it's to make it lay flatter, like right here. Once I bend this one out, I'll put a screw right here. And I don't need gloves for this. These are pointy, but they're not that pointy. The reason I'm wearing gloves is because it's really cold out here, and when you touch metal, that really drains a lot of heat out of you. All right, let me get a screw on here. There we go. All of my spikes are pointed outwards now, and I went back over it. If any of them were kind of pointed down like that, I lifted them back up. I want them at 90 degrees or maybe a little bit more than 90 degrees, but not less like that. I don't want the insulation sliding off of it. Okay, now we'll cut this at 148 inches, and I'll show you how I get that on. I made sure my ladder was in exactly the right spot, and I have my stapler up at the top there. Now, I got this cut. I'll show you that real quick. All I did was press the two boards together and then take a razor knife, cut it. Most of you have cut fiberglass before. Pull this out of the way and get my gloves on and lift that up there. right, so far so good. I was really worried about this entire process. I had backup plans and stuff, and originally I had planned on putting a 2x4 coming out this way to hold half of the weight, and then I could staple the bottom part to it. None of that is needed. These Insul-Hold spikes, just one of them will hold an entire piece of this fiberglass insulation. So the part I was the most worried about was these center two. I think they're going to go real smooth, but we're going to find out in a second. Let me unroll a piece and get it cut. And then I think these last two pieces, I'm not going to do any taping or anything until they're both in. I might have to push them side to side, and I don't want any tape holding me up. So let's get that one cut and see how this works. Okay, this one went up as easy as the last. Now, to join these are folded like twice. Actually, maybe even a little more than that. So what I think I'm going to do is just fold the one on one side the one time, and then fold that one like that, and then put a stitch of tape across it, and then do it again up higher, and do that on the whole thing. Then run a piece of tape on the whole thing. I'll tape up all the bottoms later, and the top doesn't get taped at all. That's going to get that girt going across right underneath the truss there, and the paper is going to be peeled off and wrapped over that girt and stapled up there as well. Yeah, these are never going anywhere. Okay, one more strip in this bay, and to do that, I got to open a new roll. So let's get that done, and then see how hard it is to tape this stuff. Okay, that is going to have to wrap it up for today. I started taping a bit to see how hard that was going to be, and not too bad at all. It's going to take a while though. One thing I found out is that I should get some more of this Kimberly Block-It tape. That stuff's a lot easier to use because you can pull a piece, get a piece about that big, and then just tear it off. This stuff, you have to use the scissors, but this stuff is stickier than the Block-It tape. So I'll be using this to do the stitching to pull it nice and tight, and then I'll be using this red stuff for the seams themselves. And once I get it done, I'll have to go over in areas and make sure that there's no leaks. One thing I did find out though, I only have this kind of overlapped a little bit like that, but I found out that I don't know if this is even the same. This looks like it's only 2, but it looks like it's just as wide. But this has got a big accordion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 folds, and it comes way over the other one. If I fold this one in and fold this one out, it overlaps by a good 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches, which is the way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do it that way going the rest of the way up, but that's going to have to be tomorrow. So these pokey stabby strips, Insul-Hold, work awesome with just regular old big box store 2-foot wide insulation. And the result is a huge bay with no thermal break. And I've solved the thermal break problem with these posts by putting this on there, and I'm going to put foam on the front as well. So this is going to be one awesomely insulated building. So the plan for tomorrow is to move this milk house heater over to the column on the other side, right where that insulation is, get that heated up and start getting those columns foamed up. Then I'll come back here while that's working, put my pokey stabby strips on this bay right here, do all my filling back here, and hopefully get this bay insulated and taped tomorrow. The 10-day weather forecast is really good. It's going to be in the upper 30s and mid 40s and stuff for the next 10 days. So that's going to be awesome to crank out as much of this insulation as possible. hopefully I'll be able to start getting this partition wall in as well. So if you want to see that stuff, make sure you subscribe and click on the update icon. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comments section below. And if you share the video and or give it a like, it helps the channel out greatly. Thanks for watching and have a great day.